Who are some of the worst people to invest your money with? Would it be with Stephen He Quinn, who blew the millions he stole on sugar babies? Or would it be with Aziz Kam Mirza, who faked a crypto coin and scammed all of his investors? Let's get right into it. Number 4. Sugar babies. Stephen He Quinn was a very successful cryptocurrency trader. Stephen, who was born in Australia, developed an algorithm that monitored crypto exchanges around the world. He enjoyed playing video games and loved to live the high life. Stephen was making so much money that he leased a $23,000 a month 3-bedroom luxury apartment in 50 West. 50 West is a New York City 64-story high-rise with views of Lower Manhattan. The apartment also had a pool, sauna, hot tub, steam room, and even a golf simulator. Stephen was a math whiz who attended the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. He was accepted into a program there and planned to use blockchain technology to improve speeds for foreign exchange transactions. Quinn also attended an online college in San Francisco called Minerva Schools. Stephen said in an interview that he planned on becoming a physicist, but he dropped out of college instead. Eventually, he got an internship with a Chinese firm where he was hired to create a way to trade crypto between the US and China. Stephen moved to New York City and started a company called Virgil Sigma. At first, Virgil was claiming 500% returns, which quickly brought in more investors. The Wall Street Journal did a profile on Stephen in 2018, and Virgil continued to attract new investors. Quinn claimed he was trading at 39 exchanges all around the world, but in reality, he was spending the money on his own personal expenses and also investing in undisclosed areas like initial coin offerings. Eventually, investors started reporting they were missing money and filed complaints. At one point, 9 investors with $3.5 million in funds asked to cash out, but Stephen convinced them to transfer their investments into another company he owned called VQR Multi-Strategy. VQR still has assets, and he was able to conceal that Virgil's balances were fabricated. Stephen tried to withdraw $1.7 million from VQR and explained to the head trader that the money was to repay loan sharks in China and that he didn't have money to pay them on his own. He claimed that he borrowed the money from them to start the businesses and that they might do anything to collect the debt. All in all, Stephen had stolen nearly $90 million by the time the SEC got involved. Stephen claimed that he had trust and commitment issues that stemmed from a girlfriend who cheated on him with a man who had more money than he did. He said that he then started to pay sugar babies to be his companion, and that's where most of the stolen money went. Quinn went on to explain the reason he rented a 3-bedroom apartment at 50 West was because at any given time, he always had 3 sugar babies. He also later explained that he felt he was living in a video game. When it was announced that Stephen's companies were under investigation, he was in a hotel room with a sugar baby in South Korea. He explained that this was the lowest point of his life, and he asked her to stay another day, but she wanted more money. Stephen said that he finally realized it wasn't a real relationship and agreed to turn himself in 2 days later. Stephen was charged with securities fraud, and he pled guilty in 2021. He was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison, as well as 3 years of supervised release. Stephen was also forced to forfeit nearly $54.8 million. Number 3. Money trees. Andrew Skeen and Omari Bowers were supposed to be businessmen in charge of teak tree farms in the Amazon rainforest. Their company, Global Forestry Investments, had offices in Sao Paulo, Brazil, London, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. The 2 men set up 3 farms, Bellum Sky, Parasky, and Paragrosso Plantation, and told investors that not only would they earn very profitable returns, but they would also help to protect the Amazon jungle. They also promised that they would build homes for the tree farmers, a performing arts center, and a school for the children. Teak is a type of hardwood that's very suitable for weather-resistant products. The trees are native to Asia, but plantations are often found in South America. Teak has a high strength and high oil content, and it's popular for making outdoor furniture, flooring, countertops, and building boats. Teak has been used as a material to build boats for over 2,000 years because, in addition to its high strength, teak is also very resistant to rotting, fungus, and mildew. The wood also doesn't shrink very much. Teak is also used to make doors and window frames, and it's resistant to termites and other insect. With all of these uses, it's not hard to imagine that it sells for a good price. Andrew and Omari would tell prospective investors that in this case, money actually did grow on trees. They also said that all of these plantations were being developed and that they were secure and well managed. In reality, nothing was happening on the ground, and the two men were withdrawing cash to spend on themselves. Skeen and Bowers held a champagne event and claimed investors would see a return between 10 and 20%, but it was all a hoax. Between 2010 and 2015, the men had taken over 35 million pounds and spent the money on their lavish lifestyles. The two men were using other companies to route the money and conceal that they were spending it on things like a Bentley Continental GT and a lavish wedding. After Global Forestry Investments went bankrupt, Skeen and Bowers tried to hide the funds and even obtain additional investors. All in all, over 2,000 people were scammed out of their savings and pensions. Eventually, Andrew and Omari were investigated and charged with conspiracy to defraud and misconduct. They were brought to court and were convicted of these crimes and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Number 2. Get burned. Chris Burns was a well-known investment advisor from Atlanta, Georgia. He had a local radio show and has appeared on Fox Business several times as well. Chris started a company called Investis Advisors and claims he was developing a peer-to-peer lending program. Chris explained to clients that businesses in need of money would borrow from them and pay back the loans with up to 20% interest or as a lump sum. From February 2017 until September 2020, Chris sold around $10 million in promissory notes to at least 40 investors. The SEC said the peer-to-peer lending program was a sham and that Burns was actually spending the money to fund his lifestyle. He bought $1 million lake house, a boat, cars, paid business expenses, and repaid earlier investors like any other Ponzi scheme. Chris was also purchasing thousands of dollars worth of airtime for his radio show so he could elevate his status in the Atlanta financial community. He also married his wife Meredith and they had a joint bank account with $150,000. In September of 2020, Chris started to ramp up the scam and received $320,000, which he transferred to his personal bank account or withdrew the money. Sometimes he even asked investors to meet at a local Dunkin' Donuts so they could pay their investments in cash. On September 23rd, Chris entered into a divorce agreement with his wife and transferred many of their joint assets, including the deed to their house, to her for $10. The next day, he transferred $165,000 to a personal checking account and disappeared. The SEC said that Chris became aware they were investigating him during this time. After Chris went on the run, the FBI charged him with a mail fraud scheme and a default judgment was entered in the SEC lawsuit that was filed against him and his companies. Chris would have to pay a civil fine of $652,629 if he's caught. He hasn't been seen since he left home on September 24th, 2020, but the vehicle he was driving was found abandoned in Dunwoody, Georgia. The FBI reported they froze various bank accounts for his businesses, and a federal arrest warrant was issued for Chris on October 23rd, 2020. But so far, there's been no action. Burns was also ordered to pay $12 million to the people he scammed, assuming he's ever caught. His now ex-wife Meredith agreed to return $320,000 in funds he transferred to her as well. An attorney said there are two explanations for Chris Burns' disappearance. One possibility is that he's living off the grid and is trying to hide with a new identity. The other possibility is that Chris committed suicide when he was faced with being arrested. Chris is still wanted by the FBI. Number 1. Habibi Coin. Aziz Qam Mirza said he was an entrepreneur and ran multiple companies in technology, real estate, automotive, luxury rental, cryptocurrency, investment, and media industries. Mirza is Canadian and lived in the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. He drove supercars and has over 800,000 followers on his Instagram. Mirza also said he ran an annual food drive for Ramadan that has fed over 35 million people. He and his brother Rocky got associated with an online community called the Muslim Entrepreneur Network, or MEN. They used MEN to organize get-rich-quick seminars and advertise their investment business called the Leverage Program. Qam introduced his older brother Rocky to the team at MEN and said he was a math genius and the Steve Jobs of the Muslim world. Mirza also launched another business called the International Success Group, which was supposed to be a subscription-based educational website where Mirza would teach people how to better invest their money. It shouldn't be a surprise that Mirza and Rocky were scamming people. Anyone who's offering a get-rich-quick quick seminar is up to no good, and Mirza used cliche tactics like promising people they'd be able to quit their jobs. During a seminar in 2017, Kam's brother Rocky told prospective investors that they would become profitable within the very first year and guaranteed financial freedom. After that seminar, around 1,200 people signed up for the program. Initially, the minimum cost to join was £5,000, but as time went by, the new members paid between £15,000 and £25,000 to sign up. By January 2019, the Leverage program had made over £4 million. The International Success Group was also converted from an educational website to an investment program. People were told they would get a 10% return within a year and spent between $5,000 to $150,000 to join. These people were from the US, UK, Canada, and the UAE. Kam had invited some of the prospective clients to see his apartment at the Burj Khalifa and told them he was a real estate developer in Dubai. He not only guaranteed 10% returns on their investment, but also told them he would pay out of his own pocket if anything went wrong. As is typical with Ponzi schemes, Mirza used some of the money paid by new investors to pay back old ones. He also had wired £1.8 million to the bank account of a company that was owned by a third brother. Mirza also spent a huge amount of money on his personal expenses. The brothers were also funding various businesses around the world. One of these business ventures was a UK taxi app called Empty Trip. Mirza said that this app would naturally revolutionize the world, and investors were told it was in the final stages of discussion with UK regulators. The UK Department for International Trade has no record of any meeting with the brothers, and the current director of Empty Trip is Rocky's nephew. The brothers were reported to the Metropolitan Police in London, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the Dubai Police. Kam also said that money collected from the International Success Group was being spent on the construction of a villa in Dubai, but he refused to show anyone the place or share any details about the property, saying that it could sabotage the project. Kam launched a cryptocurrency called Habibi Coin, which is supposed to be Sharia compliant and backed by real estate. It was described as a way to help members participate in fractional real estate ownership without needing a high income or good credit. Once again, people rushed to invest as Mirza promised big returns, but the currency was actually worthless and wasn't listed on any crypto exchanges. Mirza claimed that Habibi Coin was being acquired by a larger company, but then he stopped posting about it completely. An investor from Greece spent $17,000 on Habibi after meeting Mirza at his Burj Khalifa apartment. The investor said that Mirza told him he was worth $500 million and that he became wealthy after investing early in companies like Airbnb and LinkedIn. Eventually, Mirza was arrested in Dubai and charged with fraud. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail and fined $75,500, and also sentenced in another case to 6 months and fined $140,000, and will then be deported. Dubai is probably the last place you ever want to go to jail. While this may sound like a slap on the wrist, a lawyer that's familiar with the case said Mirza is unlikely to get out of jail unless he pays back investors who have filed other cases against him. Even though he has been sentenced, the civil cases are still pending and will cause him to remain locked up. Click here to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section who you think are more likely to be scammers. Someone trying to sell you crypto, or someone who's a prosperity preacher.